You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCSports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
You were sounding on Discord was not good, so.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know what's up with it, but I mean, something ain't working right on there. Like I said, it was just taking like 31 minutes to like update an app.
Jesus.
So obviously something ain't working right.
Yeah.
And I've reset the internet like 3 times, and just it's been a bastard.
Literally, the only other thing I would suggest is just tether from your like phone, and just because I don't know if you have like good like cell service out there, but also I don't know if like you have I know a lot of people only have like a certain amount of data they can tether at once anyway. So
I mean, we can do this tonight. I should have it better next week.
All right, well then, this week we'll just pretend you're still in Disney World.
I'm so glad I'm not in Disney World anymore.
We're all glad you're not in Disney World anymore, as we welcome Wes Bradshaw back to the Afford Affair podcast. Although technically he was never gone, because
never gone.
Yeah. Not to you people, he wasn't anyway. As mentioned, that is Wes Bradshaw, my colleague in crime. I am Edward Green. Wes is having a little bit of internet difficulties, so he is going to be coming to you via a good old-fashioned landline-ish, sort of, tonight. That's just how we're going to have to do it, so we can keep bringing you that sweet, sweet Premier League talk. And that's what we're going to have today. We're going to have Premier League talk. We're also going to break down the incredibly exciting Champions League draw that took place last week and the much less exciting League Cup draw that also took place on Thursday. We'll also, of course, have news and notes, the watch for, and So Raw. Possibly. Are we going to have So Raw tonight?
That's what I've been working on the last 2 hours, was catching up on the last 2 weeks of Raw.
Huh?
Because they've had some fantastic moments.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have like a half of So Raw.
That's fun.
I haven't watched any SmackDown, but I have watched I've watched Raw the last 2 weeks.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so it's actually just going to be Raw. It's not going to be So Raw.
Yeah,
just Raw.
Right. It's just going to be like moderately Raw. Like, you might not need that whole jar of Vaseline.
That's good.
But, just to keep the chafing to a minimum, you're still going to want to, coach yourself on something.
Coach yourself in our audio and our sweet, sweet voices, as well as the great findings you can see on NGSC Sports at NGSCSports.com. We never stop, and we never stop talking about Vaseline on this podcast. But that's not what we're going to talk about for the moment here. We are going to head into Premier League talk. I'm on the right day. First, the matches we're not going to talk about. Everton needed a quick answer to a Huddersfield Town goal. Philip Billing got the scoring started for Huddersfield in the 34th minute, but then just 2 minutes later, Dominic Calvert-Lewin answered for the Toffees to give Everton a point at home in a 1-1 draw. Where do we want to go from here? Southampton with a big road win at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace looked good early on. Yes, we are just in match week 4, so early is very relative. But Danny Ings with a goal in the 47th minute, and Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg with a goal in the 92nd to give Southampton all 3 points at Selhurst Park. Fulham squandered a 2-goal lead in the final half hour at Brighton and Hove to come away with just 1 point. Andre Schürrle on the board for Fulham was answered by a Glenn Murray brace in the final 30 minutes for Brighton. So those are those matches. West Ham. Oh, it might be time to start panicking for West Ham. Adama Traore, one of those fighting Traores, with the 93rd minute winner for Wolves. They are starting to really stake their claim in the Premier League, and we won't talk much about this match. But Wes, is it time to start maybe jumping off the West Ham bandwagon?
Oh man, see, I have issues with that because we told you it was going to be a rough start. It's a very front-loaded schedule. I'm not quite ready to jump off yet. I've got to see something when they come back from this international break. Got to see something from them. Got to see some signs of life. Need a result, Hammers. You need a result desperately. I'm still not off of them yet, but man, they're really shitty defensively.
Well, you say after the international break. After the international break, they are heading up Everton, Chelsea, and then Manchester United. So, good luck.
I mean, that's two out of three very winnable matches.
Oh yeah, at least two. At least two there are winnable. So those were those matches. And then the fifth one. I guess we'll say it. Arsenal gets bumped down a little bit to the also mentions. The second win, though, for Unai Emery as head boss at Arsenal. A 3-2.
It's just not as fun. It's just not as fun anymore without RC.
It's true. A 3-2 win at Cardiff. Shakhtar and Mustafi with a goal, as well as the dual strike threat of Aubameyang and Lacazette getting on the board for Arsenal. Arsenal goal, except for the last one that Lacazette put in the 81st minute to give them the win. All right, so Wes, let's head into the other matches that we actually are going to talk about. The first one is we're just going to go in order, and we'll start with Liverpool getting the 2-1 win over Leicester. Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino with first half goals. And it looked like smooth sailing for a Liverpool team who had yet to concede a goal. But in one of the more odd ways to give up your first goal of the year, Alisson, the Rock, the stable goalie, tried to get a little too fancy. Last week it worked. This week not so much, as Rashid Ghazel was able to pounce on a misplay at the back line by Alisson. To take one in for Leicester that made it an interesting finish with 30 minutes to play, but Leicester could not find an equalizer. So Wes, a big 3 road points for Liverpool, but maybe was a little more of a grandstand finish than it should have been.
Yeah, even after that Leicester goal, it never really seemed like it wasn't like you could feel the equalizer coming. Liverpool just kind of settled down and saw out a match, which, yes, it sounds very basic and, no shit, anyone should be able to do that. Yes, but you folks who are thinking that, you don't know Liverpool. You don't know the Liverpool I've dealt with in the last decade. Liverpool were by far the best team in the match. That said, this was a Leicester team without Jamie Vardy, who is kind of a Liverpool bogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of been that guy who's like a thorn in Liverpool's side when they play him. They didn't have Vardy. Obviously, Mahrez gone. This was a new look Leicester that Liverpool saw. That said, the youngster, we've mentioned his name before, Ryan Maddison, he looked really good in this match.
Mm-hmm.
He played well controlling midfield. I thought Leicester pressed our attack about as good as anyone has this season.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give us a lot of room to operate up front. They pressed us really well. I believe it was Firmino and Mane were able to get those 2 goals. But I thought Leicester played a pretty good match. I just thought they were overmatched. At the end of the day, Van Dijk had by far his worst game of the season for Liverpool today. But you know what happened? Joe Gomez was a freaking beast. And Robertson was magnificent at left back, and in another one of those, we've said them. This is already 3 out of 4 matches we said this season. Wow, these are matches that a year ago Liverpool are drawing or losing, and they got 3 points, and they're sitting on top of the table. So there's not much to complain about at Liverpool land. Allison admitted his mistakes and said that you don't have to worry about seeing it again because he's learned his lesson. I mean, that's the key. Everybody makes a mistake. Let's see, do you learn from it?
Yeah.
And that seemed to be the problem with Liverpool keepers over the years is, oh, well, y'all can acknowledge a mistake. That's great. But then you make the same damn mistake 2 weeks later. So I don't think you'll see Allison maybe trying quite as many Croy terms down on the line anymore.
It's good. It's good. Good call.
It's just one of those things. So, and also at the end of the day, I still feel pretty good because it was sort of like a fluke goal. I'm not taking anything away from Leicester winning possession, getting the pass across, and putting the shot in. They did really well there. But, I mean, that's kind of a fluky goal. It's not like you beat the keeper in the box or you beat him from outside the box. He went and made a personal mistake, and you got the ball with pretty much an open net. So, still feeling good about Liverpool. Still feeling very good at the moment. September is going to be freaking fun. One way or the other. You just take a look at Liverpool's September schedule, and it's pretty much got insanity written all over it. But, still a lot to come. But Liverpool, 12 through 4. Liverpool's best ever Premier League start. The first time they've won their first 4 matches in a season since, I believe, 1990, which was coincidentally our last title-winning campaign. So let's see if it can hold form. But Liverpool get a win at a tough place for them to go win games.
As you mentioned, the next 4 matches stretching into October, just for the league, do include trips to Tottenham and Chelsea, as well as Manchester City at home. So it will be West Ham-esque for the next about a month for Liverpool.
And you didn't mention this little thing called our Champions League draw.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna. We'll obviously get to that later. And also a little thing called the League Cup, which I'm actually just looking now. Do you realize you're going to play Chelsea like twice in 4 days?
Yeah, we play them. I think at Chelsea and then at Anfield.
Reverse.
Maybe it's the other way around.
Yeah, the League Cup match in midweek will be at Anfield, and then
okay, and then we go to Stamford Bridge that Sunday, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. And once again, as we'll get to, we play a few other pretty good teams in the month of September, so it's going to be a busy month for the Reds. International break may have come at a good time for Liverpool, even though they're playing good football. May have come at a good time just so Klopp can kind of sit down and figure out what he's going to do here going forward, because he's going to have some lineup decisions to make going forward.
Oh yeah, this is it's going to be interesting, and we'll get to the League Cup later for sure, because we have thoughts. The next match we're going to talk about is the team we were just referencing. Liverpool play twice in 4 days, and that is Chelsea getting a 2-0 win over Bournemouth at Stamford Bridge. Pedro and Hazard on the tally sheet for the Blues. Right now, Chelsea just 1 goal differential back in the table of Liverpool. And, Wes, I think we're still kind of waiting to be impressed by Chelsea, which is a really weird thing to say when they're 12 points out of 12, 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the point you make there is still waiting to be impressed. Now when you start looking at it, they played Arsenal, so come on, that was an Arsenal team in a full-ass rebuild. That was their first match. Chelsea are much, much, much farther along than what Arsenal are.
Oh, yeah.
After that, they played 3 teams that you would expect them to beat, and they've done it. and it's been a really good start for Chelsea. It's really gonna be telling though when they do play some of the higher quality teams in the league, how they really play. You know, oh man, sorry folks, it's been a long week. When Chelsea start up in the competition right now, Sarri ball's looking pretty good. They haven't been like blowing the doors off of people, but they've been playing well. The team seems like they're excited to play for Sarri.
That's important for Chelsea.
Which, I guess when your last two managers are Mourinho and Conte, you know, it's kind of like the devil you don't know. I guess it's kind of the opposite of the thing. It's the devil you don't know instead of the devil you do know.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll see how Sarri does long term. I still think it's going to take him a couple transfer windows to really build the squad that he wants. Because I still don't think they're really equipped. Like, I don't think they're equipped to go play Liverpool with the style of play they want to, or City, or Tottenham, or Watford at this point.
Yeah.
I say that a little tongue in cheek, but or you know, you play someone like Mourinho, who you know is going to be ready for those tactics. So I mean, we'll have to see what happens going forward. But, you know, for Chelsea, it's just like Watford and Liverpool. You could not have had a better start to your season. And for Chelsea, too, they probably couldn't have picked a better season to have a little backloaded on their schedule. Because this gave them a chance to go in, play the way they wanted to play, get some wins, and get some confidence in their system.
And it is kind of interesting. You look at the first couple months, the way it goes. They play Man United towards the end of October, or they play Liverpool at the end of September, as we've already established. They play United towards the end of October. They play Tottenham towards the end of November, and then they play City in the middle of December. So they, at least for the first half of the season, they really spread out where their assumed tough matches are going to come, and I think that's super helpful. Now in the back half. In February, they have City and Tottenham almost 2 weeks back-to-back. And then in April, they have Liverpool and United 2 out of 3. So it will be a little more interesting midway through the season. Again, those are assumed, quote-unquote, good teams. But, yeah, I think you're right. The way, you know, they caught having Arsenal be in a rebuild mode, as you said, to be one of your first 4 matches, along with Huddersfield, who are awful, Newcastle, who are in free fall, and then Bournemouth, who are good and played well, I thought, but just couldn't ever find a goal. I think that's a really nice way to open your season. Then you follow that up after the international break with Cardiff and West Ham before Liverpool. It's pretty nice lead up. So,
yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it is a nice build up. They're going to have another couple coming back from the international break where, you know, still a chance to pick up that maximum points before it's time to, you know, take the trip to Anfield.
So my question to you is, will that Liverpool-Chelsea match, will that be 2 undefeated teams in the league?
Oh, me. Very possible they could be undefeated. I don't know if they'll both be on maximum points at that point, but it's possible to both be undefeated.
Okay. All right.
Very good possibility.
That's what we're going to go with. Next match is one of the other contending teams, Manchester City. An interesting game against Newcastle, who I did say they're in free fall, but I think, you know, with maybe just one solid win, that they'll be able to right the ship. But getting that win right now is proving very difficult. Did not have many chances against Man City, but DeAndre Edlin did make the most of one of their few opportunities. 2 shots on goal for Newcastle. One from DeAndre Edlin in the 30th minute did go in. However, that was the meat in a Sterling Walker goal sandwich. Walker with an excellent goal in the 52nd minute to win it for Man City. And we'll get to Man City also a little bit in news and notes later, Wes, with some of the the player issues that may or may not be going on at City, but somewhat like Chelsea, City, they've the only points they've dropped were at Wolves in a 1-1 draw. But this is another team, they look good, but they still haven't, gotten to that next gear. And I'm wondering if they can hit that next gear again this season.
Well, that's the thing, they're kind of like Liverpool and kind of like Chelsea, maybe even Tottenham, these are teams they've been winning early on, and they haven't played anywhere really near their best.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tottenham looked hellaciously good in that win against United, but just when you're consistently kind of putting it together and running in and out every week, no one's hit that yet. So I think for especially for the teams near the top, it's a little early to start any sort of panic or sweat mode really with them.
Mm-hmm.
But for City, the scary thing is, and like you said, we'll talk about more later, but just it does have to be mentioned here, whatever the hell. I mean, this is the guy who was the PFA Young Player of the Year last year and basically hasn't hardly played any this season. If they can get resolved, whatever that is, and once again they're playing for the next few months with no Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, it's safe to say the City team is not at full strength.
Sure.
And that's still kind of scary to think about. They're not at full strength and look what they're doing. So I wouldn't be panicking about City yet. I don't think you weren't saying, panic.
No.
You weren't saying that.
No.
But, at the same time, I think this is a City team that is more than capable of hitting a groove and staying there for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Based on however schedule falls. That's another thing this year that we've been hearing is that Pep is going to, they're going to really put more emphasis on the Champions League.
And I think that's smart.
So, I mean, it's one of those things that's why you brought in Pep. You'd already won the league with other managers.
Mm-hmm.
You brought in the great Pep to win the championship.
Oh, yeah.
So, this being year 3 for Pep, it feels like it's about time that they did prioritize that. They had their run at greatness last year in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, there's no real follow-up to 100 points.
Yeah.
Because as we know, it's only been done once. So even the next season, if you win the league at 92, it's like, yeah, we won. But, we weren't as good as last year. So, I mean, really, that's the natural progression is you've dominated your domestic league. Now it's time to take that step into the domination of Europe, which is what your ownership goal has been the whole time anyway.
Sure.
So, almost like Liverpool, City seemed to be a little better at the back this year, a little more solid.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you sacrifice a little bit of your 5-1s to win 3-1 or 2-0. And, I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I'm personally fine with that, and I believe most at City are kind of like that, too. It's worth it to have that solidity in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll give them the benefit. The 4 matches in, we got to get the chance to benefit the doubt.
Yeah.
It's not like they play bad. Wolves basically got an illegal goal to draw.
Yeah.
That's the only thing between them and being perfect at this point. So.
Well, we'll then move on from them to the 11 o'clock games on Sunday, and I will say this, even though they lost, I still don't understand the decision, and I never will understand the decision, except for, I guess, hey, it's Man United. NBC's decision to switch from Watford-Tottenham being the 11 o'clock game on NBC Sports to Manchester United-Burnley, who are two, right now, bottom half of the table teams versus two perfect teams. I don't understand.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Obviously Sunday I was on the go all day. I didn't know that it actually happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I will give you really quick. The only reason I can think they're doing that is everybody is waiting for the Mourinho complete and utter meltdown, and if he lost to Burnley, it probably would happen.
Yeah, that's literally the only thing I can think of is the drama. But man, you have
either that or the bus drivers union had a say in it.
gotta get their wages. All right, we'll start then with the match of the week, I guess. Burnley fall to Manchester United at Turf Moor 2-0. This coming just a few days after Burnley were eliminated from the Europa League. They have not looked good to start the year, similarly to United. However, West United get the 2-0 win thanks to a pair of first-half Romelu Lukaku goals. I guess it's hard to know how much stock to put into this match. Yes, United did sort of play well. They had 54% possession, which is all right. They did have 9 shots on goal, which is good for them. But I feel like the only positive after this game is, and it's kind of what you were alluding to, is that United after last week against Tottenham could have had a pack up the bus moment to borrow the bus from Josie. And this could have been a totally dreadful scenario. I think the positive for United is that they won. I don't think this means they're back, especially with how poor Burnley have looked so far in the league this year. I don't think this is a great harbinger going forward. All it means to me is that it doesn't seem totally like the players have quit on Mourinho. So there's that.
My thoughts on this is, not taking anything away from United and their effort. Burnley have got to be happier than any team in the league that this international break is here.
Oh, yeah.
And that, as much as I'm sure their fans kind of hate it because everybody was looking forward to going to Europe, that's done and out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have sucked royally so far in the Premier League. And this is not what we're used to from the Sean Dyche side. A team that is usually so organized and well put together and hard to break down. And Lukaku got a first-half brace. By the way, with that, tied his idol Didier Drogba for, I believe that's most Premier League goals by an African player.
Oh, wow.
At 104, and actually did it in 30 less matches than Drogba did.
Wow.
So as much shit as we and everyone else gives Lukaku.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't argue the guy knows how to put the ball in the back of the net in the Premier League.
Against Burnley.
Which obviously isn't the easiest thing in the world. But anyway, for United, they came out, they did get a win, and they played better than they had. They controlled the match. And like you say, it was a Burnley team that was coming off a midweek European match. United should have gone in and got something done. They did go in and get something done. Good on their players for not having the Tottenham, basically the Tottenham hangover. Because like you said, if shit had hit the fan here, this could have been a season-defining moment for United. And instead, they go into the international break, which, I mean, for a lot of teams, it's a good time to have a break. 4 matches in. Okay, first month is done. Now we can reevaluate. We'll give the guys a breather. And then when they come back, we know what we need to do next. And Burnley and United, I think, are both going to benefit from this time off. So, I mean, all in all, it was just United were a better team on the day. And Mourinho outcoached Sean Dyche and got the victory. One of the big talking points of this game, though, was before the match, the banner flown over the stadium, taking a quote out of Josie's old playbook, saying Ed Woodward, a specialist in failure.
Now, Just before you carry on with that, because I know where you're going with this. You know, we've talked a lot about, you know, in the Premier League, the power between managers and players, and we've mentioned many times of like, you know, would it be Pogba to go or would it be Josie to go? And we've never really talked about, well, what if it's actually Ed Woodward that needs to go? And I think this leads into that.
I think this is the easiest question we've ever asked on here to answer.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Because the answer is going to be, shit, they can both go before Ed Woodward goes. Because Ed Woodward does the most important thing to the Glazer family, which is make them shit tons of money.
Yeah.
That's what the Glazers... Now, here's the thing. Winning improves the money. We know that. Because winning improves, you know... It improves revenue. It improves... You know, they talk about wanting to improve, obviously, their worldwide brand, which there is no worldwide brand in football bigger than Man United. I mean, as much as we hate to admit that, that's true.
Sure.
You can look at the numbers. You can look at the number of sponsors. It's true. And yes, winning helps that. But at the same time, Man United is in this special stratosphere in world sports. And to compare them to some of our American sports, they're Notre Dame. They're the Dallas Cowboys. They're the New York Yankees. Which means if the Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since, say, 1995...
Yeah.
Who still sells the most merch?
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys. Notre Dame hasn't won a national championship since 1988. It was tainted because the Miami Hurricanes got fucked in South Bend that year. That's another podcast for you kids. But when Notre Dame's on TV, the needle moves. Everybody, there's Notre Dame fans in Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon, Scottsdale, Arizona, and Miami, Florida. There are Notre Dame fans everywhere. They are the biggest brand in college football.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Yankees, I mean, what else do you have to say? I hate those assholes.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox are kicking your ass this year. But the New York Yankees are the biggest brand in baseball. That's Man United.
Yeah.
Now, then you've got to look at what the what's the word I'm looking for? What the goal, I guess, of the ownership group? What is their purpose?
Mm-hmm.
You've got some ownership groups or owners that, yes, you know, they want to make as much money as possible, but they also care about the final results on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I would put Man City into that category. We'll just put Premier League clubs real quick. I would put Man City and Liverpool into that category.
Mm-hmm.
Because both of them, and this is not me, Rick's in a class, I'm not trying to do that, but just from what you've seen especially this past summer from Liverpool, you've seen an ownership group that, yes, you know, as they have improved the face, which is, say, Liverpool Football Club, they realize that the next step they have to take is to go win trophies.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're investing. They've invested in the manager. They've invested in the infrastructure. They're investing in the staff and in the team now to try to go win the trophy. Because, hey, you know what? We know one thing about FSG. Yes, they love to make money. And, buddy, they know how to make a shit ton of it. But what does John Henry treasure above anything? John Henry treasures that standing on a podium and holding up a World Series trophy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which he's now done 3 times as the owner of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, outside of lifting another World Series trophy in about a month and a half, in about 6 to 8 weeks, which could happen, very well happen.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anything on earth would make John Henry happier than standing on the podium and holding the Premier League trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the Sheiks at City, who owns City. I think you get it there. Same as it used to be with Roman Abramovich. The Glazers fall more into that Arsenal and United are kind of in the same situation where their ownerships feel, yeah, we want to win because, well, that'll make us more money. But, hey, you just go ahead, you qualify for the Champions League, you get us that money, you keep moving merch, we're fine. At the end of the day, I don't think the Glazers care nearly as much about the on-field. I don't think the Glazers, I don't think it bothers them if they finish second or fourth, as long as they're in the Champions League and they're getting that Champions League money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, winning trophies does not seem like it's ever been the biggest priority for them. Now, early on, they still had a man named David Gill in charge of United. David Gill was one of the best executives that the country's maybe ever seen. Combine him and Alex Ferguson, and that's what built the United juggernaut. But even by the end of the Ferguson reign, you could see where the Glazers were no longer interested in putting that much money into the team like they had been previously.
Mm-hmm.
And that as much as Alex Ferguson leaving, that has been, I think, one of the biggest issues United have had recently with kind of their downturn in fortune. Not to say that United won't spend money, because they will, but now so much of their personnel decisions that seem to go into it seem to be as in what will improve our global branding. I mean, as ultra talented as we know Paul Pogba is, you cannot tell me one bit that Man United did not go 100% all out, pay a world record fee, just because he was a really good midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
It had to do with the whole hashtag Pogba, the commercials, the Nike, because he was going to push merch. He was going to push, he had the endorsement deals. That's where United is. And it's what brought down the Arsenal juggernaut was because they felt the status quo was fine because Wenger was getting them into the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, if Wenger had kept finishing fourth, he'd still be there. I mean, he'd still be there. There wouldn't be a question about it. He could coach forever as long as he finished fourth.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where United are at the moment. Now, Now, here's the thing about those owners is they expect you to go out and win everything, once again, because it makes them more money. But they're not willing to invest like City have invested.
Mm-hmm.
And really, when you look resources to resources, have not been willing this summer to invest like Liverpool have invested.
Mm-hmm.
I really think when it comes to, say, the Glazers and FSG, I think money-wise they're probably on the same playing field. United as a brand just has all those commercial sponsorships that brings in the money.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Glazers, I just think that as long as that money's coming in, and let's not get it wrong, Ed Woodward had a massive part in that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been talked about. They brought him in to run the whole marketing and financial side of the club. And basically, he got promoted to where he is now because the Glazers trust him. And they trust him because he's gone and made a shit ton of money for him.
Yeah.
So, and part of that has been, results be damned, or, not doing things, quote, the United way, which was to be patient and give the manager, you give the manager what he needs to succeed. Now, Mourinho, we talked about this, Mourinho has squandered some of what he's been given,
mm-hmm.
which is probably a big reason why he didn't get more now. But, just the way they handle things, this wasn't the way it was handled under Alex Ferguson and David Gill and the earlier regimes before. But no, what I was going to say is, there was this sign, Ed Woodward, specialist in failure, and, it's being said that it was paid for by a fan group. Now, there is a theory out there that Woodward's people may have actually done this themselves, kind of like, how do you say it, almost kind of like reverse trolling. Like, hey, we're going to get it out there, and then, people are going to talk about how ridiculous this is.
Oh.
Now, if that happened, which I don't think that's what happened, there is a rumor out there. They say that usually to charter one of these planes and to get the banner usually is about 10,000 pounds, give or take. So the rumor is, of course, Ed Woodward taught them up to 20,000 pounds. That's a straight up call back to one of our favorite ever Premier League cartoons.
Oh, man.
Bob.
Nobody makes a fool of Ed Woodward.
I will give you 5 pounds for this Bob.
This rich Belgian chocolate.
Rich Belgian chocolate. I'll give you 80 pounds.
90 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
That's it. Well, we love you, Ed.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a lot going on at United right now. Another team that's probably like, damn it, let's get this international break and just get somebody off our ass for a week.
Yeah, it's been rough on Manchester. So with that, our final match, Watford-Tottenham. Hey, what do you want us to talk about? Again, on the gold, NBC Gold, if you want to pay 30, 40, whatever it is, bucks, God bless you. I love soccer. I'm not paying for it. Sorry. I'm just not going to do it. But for the match itself, which was, I'm sure, seen by hundreds, Abdullah Doucouré got the scoring started, though not in the way he wanted to, when he turned in a Lucas Moura cross into his own net that gave Tottenham a 1-0 second-half lead. However, the home team came back with goals from Troy Deeney and Chris Cathcart in the final 30 minutes. Sorry, Craig Cathcart, not Chris Cathcart, to give Watford to the Premier League season. And I guess, Wes, the biggest question is, is there a chance that Watford is a Leicester-esque story, or are they more Burnley, sort of Southampton, and get a beautiful Europa spot?
First, I'm going to give you a glimmer of hope for why yes, but then I'm going to give you some actual thought and tell you why no.
Okay.
The similarities between Watford and the Leicester title-winning team are fun to look at.
Mm-hmm.
They had identical records the season before. I believe it was 11, 14, and 18 or something like that. Those numbers might not even add up. But anyway, I'm sure it can easily be found. They had identical records and identical league finishes from the year before. So that's cool, right? That's neat. That's a fun number. And then they've won their first 4, and that's cool. Here's the big difference. In the year that Leicester won it, their biggest opponent was Arsene Wenger and Arsenal, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we just fucking know Arsene Wenger and Arsenal ain't winning no damn title.
Yeah.
You had horrible down years from City, United, Liverpool, Chelsea that year. Tottenham made a decent run of it, but it wasn't the top. It was Tottenham when they were early in their infancy of this group coming through now. They weren't ready to make a run. So Leicester basically got Arsene Wenger and no other competition. So congratulations, yes, Leicester, you won. This year you're sitting on a Liverpool team that is looking to make history. You've got City, who are still right there. You've got Chelsea, who have started off well. You've got Tottenham still sitting right there. You've got to remember the season that Leicester won the title. Like we say, it was one of the lowest point totals to ever win the title.
I think it was like 82, I think.
And everybody sucked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say everybody sucked. Guess what? This year, you ain't winning the Premier League with 80 points.
Yeah, probably not. No.
And everybody don't suck.
Yeah.
So that's just why, Watford ain't going to keep it up. I mean, Watford, the way they started, they're going to give themselves a damn chance that top 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
They could be this year's Burnley. Hell, if United and Arsenal can't get it together, they might slip in and find 5th or 6th. Maybe even a very, very outside chance of top 4. Very outside.
Mm-hmm.
But, what's going to kill them, it's one thing when you're these smaller teams to be able to start. But, you've got to be able to, you got to keep it up the whole year. It's Premier League. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Sure. And
as we always say, you can't win the title in August.
Yeah. And,
so,
it's
been an awesome start. As the MIB said while listening to them today, what are Watford fans thinking right now? 28 points to safety. They've given themselves a fantastic start to the season, which has a good chance of taking them from behind the gun near the later portions of the middle to later part of the season from not ever even being in that relegation scrap.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But this Leicester team this Watford team ain't Leicester. You're not looking at a Mahrez or a Vardy sitting out there and just suddenly exploding on the scene. You're not looking at that guy. So.
I would also
but they are fun to watch right now.
I would also add that Watford started off the season very well last year. I don't think they started off 4 for 4, but I do remember they started off very well for the first couple months, and then for some reason Marco Silva got fired. So this is.
Well, that's because he wanted to go to Everton. They wouldn't let him, and they fucked that up. And then Richarlison just decided, man, I don't want to score anymore.
Yeah. So this is a Watford team that has had very weird seasons, and ownership is very, we'll call it, poor. So there's nothing guaranteed.
I would not go so far as to call them poor ownership. I would call them very impatient ownership.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
I don't want to put them in that, just shit owners. I think they have owners who care and just have super high expectations.
Yes, maybe too high expectations. But it is the Premier League. We dare to dream. So that's going to do it for our Premier League talk. Quickly, your schedule, not for this weekend because it's international break, woohoo! But next week, come back with the Foreign Affair Podcast Derby at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. Yay! Good.
God, why did you do that to us?
Good job, guys. Tottenham and Liverpool will play at Wembley at 7:30 a.m. It's great. Yeah.
Nah, I ain't going to pub at 7:30.
No. At 10 a.m., though, you will also have Chelsea, Cardiff, Man City, Fulham, Newcastle, Arsenal, Huddersfield, Palace, and Bournemouth, Leicester. And then at 12:30, Watford looks to continue their perfect season against Manchester United, which, hey, they might do. On Sunday, you'll have Wolves versus Burnley at 8:30 and Everton versus West Ham at 11. West Ham trying to go for their first win of the season. And then on Monday Night Football on NBC Sports, Southampton versus Brighton and Hove at 3 p.m. It'll be a match. That I can promise you. It will be played. As we look at the table, real quick, as we head into the national break through 4 matches, Liverpool lead, as I mentioned earlier, over 1 goal differential over Chelsea, 2 over Watford. Man City sit in 4th place, 2 points back. Tottenham are in 5th, 3 points back. The bottom of your heart, the relegation zone, Cardiff and Huddersfield sitting right outside of it with 2 points apiece. And then there is Newcastle and Burnley at 1 point, and West Ham still sitting on that goose egg. All right. So let's first quickly talk about this League Cup draw. It is a thing that happened. As we mentioned earlier, Liverpool and Chelsea got drawn together, as did Tottenham and Watford. And at the time of this drawing, those were your 4 undefeated Premier League teams. All got drawn against each other because random, yay. And somehow the only League 2 side still in got drawn against West Ham because, yay. I understand the random nature of it. And I understand that the bigger clubs get an advantage because if you play in Europe, you don't get thrown in until this 3rd round when there's only 32 teams left anyway. I get that they have that advantage. This still seems really stupid. I think I remember it was in the FA Cup a couple years ago. Arsenal and Tottenham played in the third round when they first entered the tournament. I feel like there should be some sort of protection, kind of like in the Champions League. It's like, all right, we're going to draw you, but you can't be drawn against these other 6 people that are joining in this one. Other than that, you can be drawn. So Tottenham-Watford still could have technically happened, but something like Liverpool-Chelsea wouldn't have. Because I think it's a shame that, not that either of these teams, the be-all, end-all for them is to win the League Cup, but I think it's a giant shame for the tournament that Liverpool and Chelsea, one of them is getting knocked out in the third round.
Well, the way Liverpool played in this tournament the last few years, it don't really matter who we play in the third round.
Yeah.
We find a way. It does suck. It sucks in the fact that it makes our month that much more brutal.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not the thought process going in, but, I think if you did any sort of, as you said, protection, the only thing you could do would be, just make sure the teams coming into the third round third round teams don't match them with each other.
Yeah.
But that said, the beauty of the domestic cup competition is that sometimes these smaller clubs find a path to go deep in them. And the thing is, if you match them, if you say, well, Premier League teams can't play each other, then, 95% of the time the Premier League team is going to win the match.
Right.
So there, who gives a shit? You're turning around, you're making it, oh, well, yeah, now we're going to get another, now, Chelsea get to play Leicester again. Woohoo! Mm-hmm. So, you kind of lose something there, and part of the specialness of these cups is the romanticism of the smaller clubs being able to make a run. So I'm not too chapped about it. Mm-hmm. It was kind of an eye roller, like, damn it, seriously, Chelsea, and then we play them again 3 or 4 days later. This sucks. But you know what? We did the same thing last year with Leicester. Mm-hmm. We played Leicester, lost to them in the League Cup, and then turned around and beat them in the Premier League. And it was all within 3-4 days of each other. So, it's not the first time it's happened. It does kind of suck, but it's just what it is.
Yeah. So, that's always
it's the fourth cup. It's basically if you're in Europe, it's the fourth cup. So, I don't think Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, City, United, I just don't think they're that apt about it. Mm-hmm. It's great if you're there at the end and you can win it. Mm-hmm. But, either Liverpool or Chelsea are going to go in the third round, and I don't think either of them are going to be, oh, God, our season's flushed down the toilet.
No, not at all.
They're going to be like, Klopp or Sarri is going to be upset, oh, we're having a competition. And then when they get behind closed doors, say Klopp, he's going to look at me like, all right, lads, that's one less we got to worry about. So let's just get ready for Chelsea in 4 days.
Yeah.
And that's the one. And that's the one that really matters. Mm-hmm. Is what probably both clubs will be saying is, all right, forget this shit. We kind of we had basically a 90-minute scrimmage against them.
Yeah.
And now on Sunday it really counts.
Real quick, what kind of do you put out a full strength roster in that case, or do you put like a half strength roster, or do you just say, fuck it, Academy gets to play, our under 23s are going to play this one? Like, what do you do in that?
One thing, this is one of the reasons that Liverpool went and spent money this summer. Mm. You strengthen the squad, you got a stronger squad. Well, now this is where squad rotation and playing those players comes into play. Mm-hmm. Because instead of taking out Van Dijk and only having maybe an academy kid to play, well, no, you've got Lauber, you've got Madden. This is their time to shine in it. This is where maybe Shaqiri comes in, Fabinho comes in, Lallana, if he's healthy, comes in. I'm just throwing names. You could start Sturridge or Origi in that match.
Mm-hmm.
This is where this is why you went and bought the depth. Maybe not so much for the league cup. Don't get me wrong. Not so much for this particular tournament, but this is a chance to start playing some tournament football and to see what you can do when you basically have 3 games in 7 or 8 days.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Because that's obviously going to happen again going forward.
Sure.
So this is almost like the dress rehearsal for it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll put it that way. It's kind of like the dress rehearsal.
We love dresses. Well, speaking of the prettiest dress of them all, we're going to head to the Champions League now. And Wes, I'm going to really quickly run through the groups and how they got drawn out. But and then I'm going to just take some notes here. We're just going to give our thoughts. First of all, Group A is Atletico Madrid, the defending Europa champions, Club Brugge out of Belgium, Borussia Dortmund, and Monaco. Group B is Tottenham, Barcelona, PSV Eindhoven, and Inter.
Barcelona.
Group C is Napoli, Liverpool, PSG, and Red Star Belgrade. Group D is Porto, Galatasaray, Lokomotiv Moscow, and Schalke 04. Group E is Bayern Munich, Ajax, Athens, and Benfica. Group F is Lyon, Shakhtar Donetsk, Hoffenheim, and Man City. Group G is Moscow, CSKA Moscow, Real, Roma, and Victoria Pilsen. And then Group H is Juventus, the Young Boys, Manchester United, and Valencia. And my real quick thoughts, Wes, are Group D is abjectly terrible, and I never will be looking forward to watching any of these matches. I will say I don't think there's a true group of death this year. I think if there's anything close to it, it's either B or C, with either Tottenham, Barca, PSV, or Inter, or then Group C of Napoli, Liverpool, PSG, and Red Star. But like a lot of these groups just don't jump out to me as being like super exciting, and I'm not sure if that's just because I'm maybe not super familiar with a lot of these teams, or if it's just a weird draw that we ended up getting. But like besides groups B and C, maybe Group A because of the names, although I'm not super excited about Group A either. I'm a little surprised at how some of these groups shook out and my excitement level for them.
Well, go talk to the sporting director in Napoli. He'll agree with you.
Yeah.
B and C are definitely your toughest groups, and not to take anything away from D because Inter coming out of Pop 4. But I really think in Group D you have 2 clear-cut favorites in Barca and Tottenham.
I would agree with that.
Group C is a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I say that in the fact that I really think, other than if they have been paired with 1 or 2 other teams, whatever group Liverpool went into was going to be somewhat your group of death. And like I said, now yes, they could have been drawn with Lokomotiv.
Yeah.
Or Galatasaray, or Porto, something. Yeah, that could have happened, or Benfica.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, basically, you've got last year's, PSG are the French, like the kings of France right now.
Mm-hmm.
You've got last year's Serie A runner-up, who I think had maybe the second highest runner-up score ever in Serie A. Mm-hmm. And you've got last year's Champions League finalist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a brutal-ass group. And then when you go out and look at all of those teams went and strengthened themselves over the summer, I think Liverpool and PSG are pretty much your bookie favorites. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fair. But, I mean, don't sleep on Napoli. And I'm going to tell you this, man. Red Star is a great story to be back in the Champions League. Mm-hmm. but, Red Star is not, they do not have squads that match those other ones. But, buddy, going to Serbia, that place is a cauldron.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
You look back at the fact that, before the breakup of the USSR, man, Red Star Belgrade was one of, the premier teams in Europe for about 30 years. There is a history with Liverpool. Red Star in 1973 knocked Liverpool out of the European Cup. And that tie basically led to Liverpool reinventing the way that they played football at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because Red Star was playing the total football of the Dutch national squad of the early 70s of Cruyff and that group. And that was the first time it had really come into England. And Liverpool kind of got hit in the face with it. And they were like, damn, we need to evolve. And maybe because of that, that led to the evolution of Paisley's Reds, that ripped off 4, European titles in the next decade. When you look at this group, you've got Red Star and Liverpool have both won the European Cup. Napoli have won the UEFA Cup. At that time, the UEFA Cup, so basically Europa.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the teams, PSG had the least success in Europe of this group, which is kind of interesting. But, now when you look at it on the field, you've got arguably the 2 best front threes in the world.
Mm-hmm.
In PSG and Liverpool going head-to-head. You've got Napoli, who, once again, do not sleep on Napoli. They're still a very good team, and they're going to be a damn fight for anybody. I think PSG and Liverpool are your 2 that come out. But hey, don't sleep on this either. Neymar has decided that he's now a Premier League expert.
Yes, I saw your Facebook post.
So, since Neymar spends all his downtime breaking down Premier League matches, that he is now, he's predicted the order of finish and has predicted Liverpool not in the top 4. You think that hasn't gotten Liverpool fans a little riled up?
Nah.
You think they can't wait for PSG's number 10 to step on the field at Anfield in a few weeks?
As I believe I told you, I'm excited to see Neymar try to roll from one end of Anfield to the Kop end. It's gonna be fun.
He might have the damn chance. Because somebody's gonna break his. I cannot wait to see his ass get broken in Anfield. But those 2 are definitely your toughest groups. And the thing is, in Group B, is that I believe Tottenham and Barcelona are the 2 best teams. I also think PSV and definitely Inter are more than capable of fucking somebody's day up.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
And that's the thing, when you get into those groups where you've got 4 teams that can play, they are so tough because, they say you have to hold serve at home and then try to go get some draws on the road and just hope that whoever your competitors are, that they can't do it.
Yeah.
That they fall somewhere, they get upset. So, obviously, Barca are looking for Inter to maybe catch Tottenham at the San Siro.
Mm-hmm.
Or Tottenham are looking for PSV to catch Barca on an off night in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes us so dangerous.
Is there any other group that you look at where we could maybe see a surprise team come through, or where you think we could see some really good battles? Like I said, I think in Group A with Atletico, Dortmund, and Monaco, that could be an interesting group. I'm not sold on either Dortmund or Monaco at this point, though. But is there any other group you're kind of looking at outside of B and C that has caught your eye in any way?
I'm interested in Group F.
Okay.
And I say that in the full knowledge that I fully believe that Manchester City are going to go through as the number 1 team.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you've got Shakhtar, Hoffenheim, and Lyon.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at those, Shakhtar, whatever you want to say about them, Shakhtar are there every year. They always seem like they're in the final 16.
Mm-hmm.
Hoffenheim play maybe the most exciting football in Germany right now. And, Lyon are one of the tougher French sides that you're going to find. I think there should be an upset in there for City. But more than that, I just think that you're going to have three teams absolutely battling for that second spot in Brazil.
Okay. Well,
so that's kind of the one I'm just kind of keeping my eye on. And then Group H, of course, just to see if United can completely fuck this up.
Yeah, because on the whole of it, looking at their group of Juventus, Young Boys, and Valencia, they should go through top two, but you never know. You never know.
Very true. The ghost of Gary Neville still haunts Valencia.
That's true. So those first matches will all kick off on September 18th and 19th. Check it out on Bleacher Report Live and TNT. That's going to take some getting used to say. All right, so we'll head now into news and notes. And our first story is that while Tottenham may have lost last week to Watford, arguably they won their biggest match of the week on Saturday, and it was, about a bajillion miles away from England. And that was when South Korea, to the joy of many a Tottenham supporter on Reddit, won the Asian Games final against Japan in extra time, which means that Heung-min Son, the Tottenham player, is going to avoid military service. The only way he could have gotten the exemption was by medaling in the Olympics, I believe winning the World Cup, or winning the Asian Games, and this was his last chance to get deferment, and he took full advantage of it. So West Tottenham fans breathing a sigh of relief. His 2 years of service have been pushed aside. He will not have to do it. And for Tottenham, hey, it's kind of like a new signing, right? Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a bizarre, thing to be holding over a player anyway.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And I understand. There are countries out there with the compulsory military duty. It's what it is, but that's just, it's just kind of a little weird. But it is a big break for him. But no, for Sonny and for Tottenham, that's a huge deal because, now the guy gets to continue his career, doesn't have this hanging over him anymore. It's a weight off his shoulders. And as you say, it's an addition. It's like getting a new player for Tottenham,
Yeah.
Even though we know they don't sign players at the top.
It's true.
But it is something after four matches. Hey, once again, good time for an international break because now he gets to come in and gets to. He should be ready to rock and roll by the time Liverpool show up.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to bring him off the bench in that match, it shouldn't be an issue. He's in game shape, so And of course, he did not score in that final, so Tottenham fans should be sending fruit baskets to the guys who did score for South Korea. I'm not going to try to say their names.
He did get an assist on the first goal in extra time, thanks to Seung-woo Lee, who did end up scoring the first of the two goals. Actually, also assisted on the second goal as well. So good tournament for Sonny, though. All right, so. Yeah, it's good for him. Good to have the happy Korean lad back on our team. Not a happy lad though is Leroy Sane, and Wes, you alluded to this earlier. Leroy Sane, not only did he not start against Castle, he was not in the 18. He was not available to actually play. And, of course, he's played very little so far this season. Was left off semi-controversially from the Germany national team this summer for the World Cup. Oddly enough, did actually get called up on the international break to Germany, so whatever. But it's been this odd thing. As you mentioned earlier on when we were talking about City, this is a guy who was the young player of the year last year in the FA. And now it seems like, Pep saying, the last game Phil Foden was not on the squad. I was so sad for Phil, like I'm so sad for Leroy now. But we have a squad, and sometimes we have to leave players out because we have 6 strikers, and I just started to start with 6 strikers. We had 2 wingers and another one on the bench, which is why Leroy's not there. But he definitely stressed that it was not because of an injury. And Guardiola stressed that he had no problems with him the day before the Wolves, claiming that the previous fortnight's worth of training had seen the Leroy that I know, which is just so funny to think of Pep saying that, Leroy. But Wes, this is, a young kid who may just be needing a wake-up call, which is, kind of interesting. Going back to talking about City and not finding that gear, we mentioned sometimes Bill Simmons on this podcast for coming up with the Ewing theory. Another theory he kind of floated on was the idea of, a title winner in any sport it's hard to get that motivation the next year. And we have seen that in the Premier League. We've seen all our previous years, I think for like the last 5 or 6 years, stumble as they start the Premier League. Chelsea most notably, the last couple times they've won the league, well, their manager didn't make it through the next season, basically. So is there a chance that maybe, and obviously Sane right now being the poster boy of it, is there a chance that that's what's going on right now at City, is that it's hard to get that same level of motivation the year after you've won a title?
Well, I'll say this for Sane, and this hasn't been confirmed, but if you kind of read between some lines, you pick up some things.
Sure.
I mean, this is a guy who, no matter, as great as he was last year, was omitted from the Germany squad. A squad that could have obviously used what he brought to the table.
Yeah.
This is a guy who right now is being omitted from the City squad. And here's the thing, it's not like they have a like for like for him. Luckily for them, they did sign Riyad Mahrez.
Right.
And Mahrez is able to step right into that place, but he doesn't do what Leroy Sane did. So to me, this obviously smacks of an attitude and a practice issue. Now that said, Pep isn't Josie. If it was Josie, we would know everything.
That's true.
Because Josie would have completely put him on blast in the media. So we don't know totally what's going on. But when you read between the lines, not the Leroy that I know. You just hear some things that some of the other players are playing. It sounds like it stems from practice, maybe practice habits or just attitude. With a guy as young as him and as good as he was last year, are they having issues with entitlement?
Yeah.
Where, the thing about City has such depth that one of the big things that they thrive on is the fact that you've got to earn your spot week in and week out. Well, does he kind of have that feeling like, I proved last year I shouldn't have to go bust my ass in practice to earn a spot? What's Mahrez done for us? So, there's a lot of mitigating factors it could be, but just everything I've read and what I kind of gain out of everything is, to me, it sounds like this is coming down to attitude. It's not injury. It's not because you can't play with the player. It sounds to me like he's got a damn attitude problem.
Yeah, I would agree.
I believe he's 20 years old. Like you said, needs a wake-up call. Needs somebody to punch him in the damn face, it sounds like.
Yeah, hopefully that gets corrected soon, because this is a very promising young talent. But you start to think, well, we all thought, it was very odd when Germany omitted him during the summer, and then you start to think, well, did Jurgen Low start hearing things about maybe Sane, even going back into last year, last season, was there attitude problems? Was there attitude problems when he played for Germany in international breaks? Is that why he chose not to take him along? So now, obviously, Germany had their issues besides Leroy Sane.
Yeah.
So
just the big thing to me is that Germany couldn't replace what he did, and City really couldn't replace what he did. But both of those managers, Lowe and Guardiola, have been like, all right, look, obviously there's something going on here, and you know what? I can get by without Leroy for a while.
Yeah. So we'll see how long that continues, and if the international break gives him a chance to sort of sort through some issues.
Right.
Speaking of sorting through issues, and maybe some of those have been sorted through, we talked a bit, I believe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about the first La Liga match that would be taking place in the United States, and how no player seems to actually want to do that from La Liga. They have announced what it will be, and it will be Girona versus Barcelona, which will be taking place in January 27th, and will be played in Miami, in the Hard Rock Stadium, as Wes, you mentioned, the home of the Miami Dolphins when we last talked about it. But hey, January 27th, it'll have been at least a month since the Dolphins have played there. I don't actually...
Yeah, they go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess. I just assume they're not, because I don't follow the NFL.
More importantly, Inter Miami CF will not have played there again.
We are not talking about Inter Miami CF on the podcast. No. Fuck that shit. No. So coming out of this article, though, we wondered, about, what happens to the fans? Girona is actually this is their home match against Barcelona. They're going to make 1,500 free flights available to season ticket holders, which only requires a little deposit, which they'll get back after the trip. If they don't want to take the trip, season ticket holders can get a 20% discount on their season ticket. They're also going to give about 5,000 free tickets that'll be distributed to the game against Barcelona at the Camp Nou later this month. So there are reparations being given to season ticket holders.
By the way, let me throw something in real quick.
Sure.
This is Girona we're talking about.
Yeah.
I have a very, very sneaky suspicion that they are being, damn it, what's the word I'm looking for? I have my word and I've lost my word. That someone other than Girona is picking up part of the tab on this.
Yeah.
If
Probably.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they start with line in La Liga. So.
Yeah. So that will be the game. That there has been some concern that an all Catalan derby, with all the separatist geopolitical movement going on, that'll be interesting. It also should be noted that we haven't really heard anything more from the players about whether they will actually go through with this. I at least haven't heard anything more on that front. We also haven't talked about it. FIFA hasn't given their go-ahead yet. Most notably, FIFA rejected the idea that the Premier League would do a 39th game or play another domestic league game abroad in 2008, and FIFA said, no, you can't do that. So FIFA hasn't given the okay yet for this, and so there's a lot of things that have to kind of get put into place pretty quick. I know we're talking about something in late January, but considering how slow things move and how people need to do this, I'm very surprised at how fast this is moving with as much thing, with FIFA still needing to approve. And as far as I've heard, the players are still not on board with this, that this is going to go through.
Yeah, it's just kind of sitting out there. But that said, they kind of need to have the plans in place because they don't need to be scrambling for this later. So now when they do go before FIFA or however this works, like, here's the deal, here's everything in place. We're making good with this fan group. We're doing this, we're doing this. So, let us get into it. I don't agree with it. I think you should play games in the country that you play your games in. I don't want to see a Premier League game in Washington, D.C. I don't want to see a Bundesliga. And the Bundesliga said, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bundesliga said, we will never play a league game out of Germany.
Yep, that was the managing director, Christian Seifert, who said that. Yep.
So, it's not being met with universal praise. Now, I'm sure the guys in the Premier League would love to get a 39th game. Why else? Money, as we talked about. Cash rules everything around me. But, I think FIFA's just also waiting to see what their code is going to be.
Do you think, is there a chance that FIFA just is like, no, you can't do this, and then, the
way I feel about it is that if they didn't have a really good idea that FIFA was going to let them do this, I don't think all this would be being so publicly announced.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got to have a really good feeling, just maybe working out some technical issues. But I think that La Liga has to have gotten some really good feedback from FIFA to go ahead and be announced and everything. Or it's one of those deals where, do it now, ask for forgiveness later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be a hell of a flight if it happens. It's going to be a hell of a flight over there with the 1,500, free flying fans from Girona.
Yeah.
And getting to go to Miami at the end of January. It's going to be a very interesting ordeal.
Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out. And then our final story for the week here is one you sent me. Which is very interesting. And hey, more good news for Tottenham. Christian Eriksen doesn't have to play any matches on the international break.
You didn't get to play in the Nations Cup or whatever the hell that thing.
Yeah. He, Kasper Schmeichel, Andres Christensen, and more Danish players will not have to play in the international break for their upcoming games against the one they already played against Wales and the one coming up against Slovakia, due to some commercial rights not being ironed out. We just talked about FIFA and getting those rights, and now some other rights. So basically, some of the rights just aren't being handled properly by the Danish Federation. So all the big Danish players from Denmark said, no, we're not going to come to the national team. But Denmark still had to field a team, because if they didn't, then they wouldn't be able to actually play in Euro 2020. So
they would lose the ability to even qualify.
Correct. So they had to bring up other players, some of them coming from Denmark's third tier in their great leagues, and even some futsal players. Futsal, the five-a-side equivalent. That's, you play inside and it's in like a racquetball court kind of thing, and it's really weird, and yay. So, and according to this one article on Dream Team FC that you sent me, Wes, Denmark's futsal team is currently ranked 51st in the world. And I believe that this team already got a bare bottom spanking from Wales. So this is one of the more bizarre stories we've ever seen come out of international football.
It is when guys from the futsal team are being called into the national team.
Yeah.
Great. It's great. I don't really know much to add. Commercial rights, we hear that all the time in soccer. Mm-hmm. I've never heard that from, LeBron or Bryce Harper or anything.
Yeah.
I don't really know what it means all that much, image rights and all that stuff, but I know Ronaldo makes a shit ton of money from it, so it must be important.
Well, so there you go. We'll see how well this Danish team can do. These fine Danes shedding their Dutch ways. So that's going to do it for news and notes. That brings us to the Watch for Wes. What are you watching in the week that was, or I think more accurately, given where you've been, the week that will be?
I've got Mayans ready to roll. I've got Purge ready to roll. Oh, man, it's a huge week. We've got the fall premieres coming out. It's a big week of TV, but unfortunately, the only TV I watch revolved around a fucking cartoon mouse for the last week. So I don't really have anything to give you guys this week. I literally just got home this evening about 2 hours before we decided to pod. So I don't have you much. I call up on Raw, and I'm actually watching the Liverpool-Leicester match, which I had to watch on my phone the other day, and I can see it very well. So, sorry, I just don't have a lot to add.
Oh, that's fine. I guess for me, I am now fully caught up on P5A. That's still going strong. The Phantom Thieves are about to make their final heist. The team is fully together, and they are ready to make their final big heist to clear their name that they are not murderers, because they're kids. They couldn't be murderers, except that maybe they are.
Kids are totally normal.
Yeah. Especially when they have a talking cat with them. I also actually was just also playing a little bit before we started potting. The Hollow Knights. The Hollow Knights are still really good. That's a damn fun game. Seriously, it's like $15, people, and it's available on literally every console and PC. There's zero reason, if you play video games, you should not buy Hollow Knight. Just buy Hollow Knight. It's great. So great. So with that, Wes, speaking of great entertainment on the cheap, we have a Raw tonight. It's not so Raw. It's kind of Raw.
It's Raw. It's just, unfortunately, folks, once again, between last week's work schedule and the travel schedule I had for the last week, I was unable until I got home this evening to watch anything wrestling-wise. I did notice some stuff that had gone on, so I got last week's Raw in and this week's Raw in, and that's just what we're going to do. So SmackDown, you guys take a little backseat. I'll catch everybody up on SmackDown next week. But we are on our way to Hell in a Cell, September. That doesn't sound right for some reason, but it is only a few weeks away from Hell in a Cell. It is September 16th. Good call, Wes.
Good job.
You're amazing. So 10 days away from right now. It's just after midnight as we're recording. And we have the biggest news is that Braun Strowman has decided to cash in his Money in the Bank contract, not to try a sneak attack like most do, but he has decided to turn it in, and he will face Roman Reigns for the Universal title inside Hell in a Cell. So that is basically made it this time to keep the other two members of the Shield out. And also, something we'll find out a little later on last week's episode, as Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns were actually in a match as tag team partners, and Strowman turned on Reigns and is now aligned himself with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. And that is a devastating little trio they've got running around right now. But Hell in a Cell should keep those two out, should keep Ambrose and Rollins out. And man, let's see. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be hard hitting. You know something insane's going to happen in that match. So I'm obviously really looking forward to that. Speaking of the Shield, the last 2 weeks the Shield have been left laying in Raw. Last week it was by Ziggler, McIntyre, and the aforementioned Braun Strowman. They got them one by one last week. This week, the entire heel roster from Raw ended up attacking the Shield and leaving them laying in the ring. The show started off with the entire locker room having to come out and separate the Shield and Ziggler, McIntyre, and Strowman. When they went backstage with him at some commercial, and the Shield were being arrested.
Oof.
But wait a minute, it's kind of like Batman being arrested because they are the vigilantes. They serve the justice. They end Raw by coming back in the paddy wagon, and as they are fighting, they're about to fight the aforementioned Ziggler, McIntyre, Strowman trio. The entire heel locker room jumps them from behind, big time beat down of the Shield, and they are left laying to end Raw. So, obviously a lot more going to be going on with that. It's always good to see the Shield back. But now there is a second big thing going on. There's more going on, but this is just kind of what I got to and just wanted to touch on. You could be seeing a super match coming up for WrestleMania 35 this year. I think 35, 36. I can't remember numbers at this point. There's a big super show coming up in Melbourne, Australia in October, and the big headline match is called for the final time ever, The Undertaker versus Triple H. They've been really heavily promoting that match on Raw the last few weeks. Well, this week they bring out, of all people, my favorite ever wrestler, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, who, if you know your wrestling history, Michaels lost it's been 10 years since Shawn Michaels lost a career versus streak match at WrestleMania to The Undertaker. And on that day, Shawn Michaels retired and has kept his word. Has not had any of the return matches, has not had the one-offs, nothing, has never come back. Well, he comes out this week to help to try to help promote the match, and his main talking point is he thinks Triple H is going to win, and that's something they've been pushing. Is they've had the legends and the Hall of Famers making their predictions the last few weeks in these video packages. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Jeff Jarrett, Cactus Jack, Booker T, Big Show, guys who obviously had feuds with both of them. And all of a sudden, Shawn Michaels is building up Triple H. The bell tolls. The lights go out, and to the shock of the Columbus, Ohio crowd, The Undertaker has shown up at Raw. And he and Shawn Michaels end up face-to-face, and The Undertaker talks a lot of shit to Shawn Michaels. And a lot of people feel that this could be building up to, Michaels made the comment that he will be in Melbourne, Australia to see that match. Everyone knows Shawn Michaels and Triple H are best friends, real-life best friends. They were on screen. They were the best of friends. They were the best of enemies at different times throughout their career. But at this point, on very good terms together. Michaels made the comment he'll be in Melbourne. So that has got the internet just exploding with the rumors that at the next WrestleMania, we're going to get 10 years later, we're going to get Michaels Undertaker Part 3 at WrestleMania.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing. I love them both. Shawn Michaels, as I said, my favorite ever performer. I think he and Ric Flair are the two greatest professional wrestlers there've ever been. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker are both 53 years old.
Yeah.
Now, Shawn Michaels looks like he's in fantastic shape. Don't get me wrong. I wish I looked like that at 36. Much less 53. But you take into account, Shawn Michaels has not wrestled in 10 years. it would be amazing for one night. Michaels is pretty much like the best in-ring performer in wrestling history. I mean, this guy could take. I mean, Ed, he could probably take you or me off the street right now, give him 2 weeks, and we could have a good match with Shawn Michaels. He would find a way for us to have a good match. He's just that damn good.
Nice.
I don't know. It's 2 guys at 53 years old at WrestleMania. Now the house would burn down New York City. I mean, it would be an amazing reaction, amazing response. I just don't know how much they've got left to give us. Taker, every time we see Taker, he looks like he's on his last leg. Yeah. And then once again, Michaels has not wrestled in 10 years. So, I mean, it would be amazing. Don't get me wrong. It would be so hyped. And like I said, if anyone could do it, it could be Shawn Michaels. As he once famously said, ain't nobody crazy enough to take this gig except for the Heartbreak Kid. So, we'll see, man. But that is definitely a subplot going forward. Obviously, WrestleMania will be in April. So we're hitting this up in September with the first face-to-face. Let's see where this goes, man. Because if I can get one more Shawn Michaels match in my life, I would be such a happy little mark.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love the Shield and I love Ric Flair, and I mean, you know how much I love these guys, the ones that I really like, Shawn Michaels is just, I mean, that's a different stratosphere from anybody to me. As I say, he's my favorite ever. He's been my favorite since 1995. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but I'm definitely keeping our eyes and ears to the ground on this one over the next 6 months.
Well, we will see if the Heartbreak Kid can come back to break hearts one more time, especially Wes Bradshaw's. That is going to do it then for this edition of the Foreign Affair podcast. I want to give one more shout to NGSC Sports, NGSCsports.com. We never stop. You can find them on the Twitterverse. You can also find us there as well. As a collective, we are at AFA Pod. Wes, your handle is?
I'm at Wes Bradshaw 21.
I am at Edward Green. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube via our parent show, The All New Sports Show. You can also email us at that address, allnewsportsshow@gmail.com. Finally, thanks to our podcast providers, including Podbean.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, the Google Play Music Store, and iTunes Music. So we will be back next week for episode 227 to recap the international break. Guess USMNT plays like Brazil and I think Peru or someone. We'll see. They still don't really have a head coach, but it's fine. So we'll find stuff to talk about, though. I'm sure something weird will happen. So before that weird thing happens and we get out of here, Wes, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
College football started this past weekend. And, unfortunately, West Side didn't have the greatest of weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sunday was a rough-ass day. East Carolina opened their season against North Carolina A&T. That game was supposed to be on Saturday, and due to inclement weather here in Eastern North Carolina, that game got moved to Sunday afternoon. And damn, the Pirates looked like they had gone to church and just had too much Sunday dinner. As for the second consecutive year, we lose to an FCS program, 28-23 to North Carolina A&T.
Yikes.
And somehow it's, it's very early Thursday morning right now as we finish recording. Scotty Montgomery still has a job. I don't really know how, but whatever. I guess the reason we prices can't afford to pay off another cut. Oh, man, but that's any indicator of how the season's going to go for East Carolina. It's not going to be pretty. Another team that got smacked around, but I think will bounce back a little better than East Carolina, the Miami Hurricanes, who laid an egg on national TV on Sunday night, a 33-17 loss to LSU. Don't let that score fool you, though. It was 33-3.
Yikes.
At the beginning of the fourth quarter. So,
yikes.
Yeah, Coach Mark Richt has some decisions to make especially at the quarterback position. I don't really think Malik Rozier is quite good enough to get us where we want to go. He's a solid quarterback, but, for a team that wants to be nationally relevant in the national title hunt, I don't think Malik Rozier is a good enough quarterback. So, might have to see what one of the redshirt or one of the freshmen can do. But Haynes took a rough one. Georgia won. They played Austin PA. Have we ever figured out how to say that place?
Nope.
I couldn't remember who they played, but I knew as soon as I saw the word Bulldogs 45, Governor Zero. Well, the team was called themselves the Governors. That's an embarrassment. So, Georgia wins, Miami, East Carolina lose. I'm not real happy, but we'll see what happens. High school football week 4 this week. God, the regular season is flying by.
Yeah.
And I'm back from Disney World and I'm ready to go to bed. So.
Well, then let's go ahead and get on out of here from my very tired colleague in crime, Wes Bradshaw. I am Edward Green. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Affluent Affair podcast. We'll catch you guys next week. Until then, stay safe. Enjoy the meager scraps of football.
And good night to all you teams in the Nations Cup. I literally just remembered that it was happening today, that there was a competition called the Nations Cup. So.
Yeah, still not totally sure how that thing goes. Not totally sure.
Somebody gets a second chance to go into Euro 2020 is all I got out of it. So.
Sure. All right.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.